When is a child in need of protection? The Child and Family Services Act identifies the following as times a child is in need of protection. 1. Physical abuse. 2. Sexual abuse and exploitation. 3. Physical neglect. 4. Emotional maltreatment. 5. Exposure to domestic violence or severe domestic disharmony. 6. Failure to provide essential medical treatment. Physical abuse refers to all actions resulting in non-accidental physical injury or harm. This may include non-accidental injury, cruel or excessive corporal punishment, which may or may not cause physical injury, threats of physical harm, dangerous behavior towards a child, or in immediate proximity to the child, for example throwing objects, use of weapons. Children who have been abused have been found to have lower IQs. Fear changes how we think. Adults with a history of child abuse and neglect are more likely than the general population to experience physical health problems including diabetes, gastrointestinal problems, arthritis, headaches, gynecological health problems. Abuse is also a strong predictor of eating disorders and obesity. Physical abuse increases the odds of heart attack. A number of mental health issues are associated with childhood abuse including risks of attempted suicide in young people, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, bipolar disorder, panic disorder, drug abuse, nicotine dependence, generalized anxiety disorder, and major depressive disorder. Sexual abuse and exploitation occurs when a child has been or is likely to be exposed to harmful interaction for a sexual purpose by a parent, caretaker, or any person in a position of trust and/or any other person. Examples include engaging a child in sexual acts, obscene acts, taking pictures of a sexual nature, exploitation, pornography, voyeurism, exhibitionism, and threatening sexual assault, as well as grooming techniques. Grooming behaviors. To sexually abuse a child without being discovered, sexual predators condition the child not to tell anyone. Predators must also convince other adults of his or her trustworthiness with children. This process is known as grooming. Some groom an entire community to establish themselves to be in a trusted position with children. It is thought that there are stages of grooming which include 1. Targeting, 2. Gaining trust, 3. Filling a need, 4. Isolation, 5. Sexualizing the relationship, 6. Maintaining control. Sex offenders may pretend to be very helpful to a family in everyday life and appear to be very supportive to the caregivers, filling a need in the family. Offering to babysit, taking the child to activities and outings, builds trust and gives them access to the child. They may build a special relationship with the child, filling a need with the child, and isolate them by doing special activities and keeping secrets. Example: don't tell anyone, but I like you best. This is a game I only play with you. We can do this because you're special to me, but it has to be our secret. Most perpetrators are known and trusted by the family. That is, a brother-in-law is trusted more than a stranger. Tickling, hide and seek, swimming, reading bedtime stories, tucking children into bed are just a few activities that can become sinister opportunities to molest victims. Perpetrators may sexualize the relationship slowly over time. Gifts, money, threats, all can be used to maintain secrets. Perpetrators may also convince victims that no one would believe them if they told. They will try to convince others that the child is a liar, if the child does disclose. Statistics Canada has found that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 8 boys has been sexually assaulted by the age of 18. Always believe a child. An abuser who preys on a child through the internet creates a secret relationship with the child, who comes to trust them, and stop thinking of them as a stranger. Understanding the facts, breaking the cycle. Girls are 4x as likely to be sexually assaulted by a family member. Statistics Canada finds that 1 in 4 girls, and 1 in 8 boys has been assaulted by age 18. About 80% of sex trafficking victims in Canada are women and girls. The Canadian Criminal Code defines the age of consent to sexual activity as 16 years of age. However, consent cannot be given if one person is in a position of authority, trust or power over the other. That is coach, social worker, teacher, minister, doctor. 2. A person is being coerced, pressured, threatened or bribed. 3. A person is intoxicated, passed out, unconscious or sleeping due to alcohol or drugs. Anyone under the age of 12 can never give consent. Exceptions to the code, when there is no relationship of trust, authority, or dependency and there is no exploitation of the youth. A 14-15-year-old can consent to a partner as long as he/she is less than 5 years older less 1 day. And a 12-13-year-old can consent if the partner is 2 years older less than 1 day. Source: Sexual Assault Services of Saskatchewan. Substance abuse. Both men and women who had been sexually abused as children have been found to be at greater risk of having substance abuse problems, as well as a host of other physical and mental health problems. Physical neglect refers to acts of omission on the part of the parent or caregiver. This includes failure to provide for the child's basic needs and appropriate level of care with respect to food, clothing, shelter, health/medical, hygiene, safety and supervision as determined by minimum levels of care standards. The facts on neglect. Research finds, neglect is the most common form of child maltreatment. It can have severe negative short- and long-term effects on cognitive, socio-emotional and behavioral development. It is particularly detrimental in the early years. Neglect can have even more serious effects on a child than some physical abuse. Emotional maltreatment refers to both emotional abuse and emotional neglect of the child. Emotional abuse includes excessive and overt rejection, criticism and excessive demands of performance for a child's age and ability. Emotional neglect refers to the failure of the parent and caregiver to provide adequate psychological nurturance necessary for a child's growth and development. Research: 93% of adults who had experienced abuse reported experiencing emotional maltreatment. Emotional maltreatment, even more than physical and sexual abuse, may predispose a person to developing depression or anxiety. Exposure to domestic violence or severe domestic disharmony. refers to a child living in a situation where there is interpersonal violence, including children witnessing, hearing or being aware of violence perpetrated by one adult figure against another adult figure, or against another child. Research shows, about 362,000 Canadian children witness or experience family violence each year. Exposure to violence can affect children's brain development and ability to learn, and lead to a wide range of behavioral and emotional issues such as anxiety, aggression, bullying, phobias and insomnia. Children who witness violence in the home have 2 times the rate of psychiatric disorders as those who don't. Child witnesses are more likely to grow up to become victims or abusers. Failure to provide essential medical treatment. This refers to a parent or caregiver failing to provide essential medical treatment or to remedy a mental, emotional or developmental condition of a child.